All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another video on the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. As usual, my name is JV Wins, that is Dogon SS, to talk about another week's worth of garden variety social commentary topics going on in the world of society and culture.
Mhm.
Before we get started with this week's video, I do want to say, as I always like to say, that if you appreciate the commentary on this video, if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the like button so that you can get the notification for all content that gets published to the channel. We certainly appreciate it. Last week was a good week for the channel. We grew it. We got a lot of new people coming into the community, and I have yet to spend a single dime doing this. Not saying that that's going to continue, but thus far, there's been no money spent. So we like what we do here. We certainly appreciate everybody who comes to join in. And so always want to encourage everybody to continue to support our logical content and subscribe to the channel wherever you see this video, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, if you catch the videos that we post on Instagram, go ahead and follow us over to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, because we certainly appreciate it. We like to do these videos, and we're going to continue to bring the heat each and every week. So with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get started. First topic of the week is we're going to talk about Will Smith. Will Smith's response, or not necessarily a response, but Will Smith has that new movie coming out, the Emancipation movie. It's on Apple TV, I think. I'll pass. I'm done with slavery movies personally, but Will Smith, got a new movie coming out, so he's got to do press junk. He's got to do the press thing. And obviously, because of what happened earlier this year with the Chris Rock situation on the Oscars, he's going to get asked about that, and he's going to have to answer questions. Ever since that happened, Will Smith has pretty much been laying low. He did the one sort of Q&A thing with his fans on his YouTube channel back in, I think that was in July. But other than that, he's pretty much been keeping it low key and just, kind of doing damage control behind the scenes. But now he's out in the open because, since he's the star of this movie and this movie's coming out, that you got to do press for your movie. So he's out in the open, and he recently was on the Daily Show with Trevor Noah talking about the situation and what led him to acting out towards Chris Rock in that moment. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to but I'm going to share the screen real quick. This article is from Yahoo that gets into a few quotes where Will Smith explains why he did what he did or where it all came from. Again, this is an excerpt from his appearance on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. So this article from, again, Yahoo starts off by saying Will Smith has blamed, quote, bottled rage for why he slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars earlier this year. In his first on-camera interview since the incident, which saw him banned from the ceremony for 10 years, Smith discussed his actions. Speaking to Trevor Noah on The Daily Show, Smith said, quote, I was going through something that night, before adding, quote, not that justifies my behavior at all. The King Richard star went on to say, quote, I understand how shocking that was for people. I was gone. That was a rage that had been bottled for a really long time. Smith went on to refer to that he was going through times emotionally that night. It was a lot of things. It was the little boy that watched his father beat up his mother, all of that just bubbled up in that moment. That's not who I want to be. And so you can go on and read the rest of that, but that's pretty much the gist of it. And there's a clip from his appearance on the Daily Show here, so I'll go ahead and play that. It's not very long.
Okay, hang on one sec, bro. Let me mute that out. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
With Trevor Noah.
I was going through something that night, and not that justifies my behavior at all. I would just say, and you're asking what did I learn, and it's that we just got to be nice to each other, man. It's like.
Smith went on to.
So yeah. Now obviously there's longer clips of that. We don't want to get hit with copyright, so I wasn't going to play the clip directly from the Daily Show. But that's pretty much the gist of it. So he's explaining that it was bottled rage. During his appearance on the Daily Show, he actually kind of broke into tears over his remorse towards the situation. So that's where Will is at, man, and he's going to be doing this for a while. So I hope everybody gets used to it.
You're right.
If you pay attention to this pop culture stuff, I hope you get used to it, because this is going to be going on for at least the next 30 days or so as he does marketing for this slavery movie that he has coming out on Apple TV. So so that's where Will is with it. He says it was bottle rage and a lot of stuff from his past, and he talked about family trauma. So what do you think of what he said?
It reminds me of the stuff that he was saying earlier. Just somehow playing the victim here, but also extremely remorseful and very emotional. And so for him to break out in tears on the Daily Show there, is part of the course for Mr. Smith. He has to be able to play this side of this event as if he's so remorseful that it makes him cry. And he thinks about this more than you think about it at home. And he's going to convey that for as long as this is ever a topic. The mere fact that he's doing a slavery movie, I didn't know that. But we are due for a slavery movie. The year's almost over. So I'm not surprised that we have a slavery movie coming out. And Will Smith is going to be somewhere in there. So I got to check that out and see what's going on with that. Well, the trailer at least. And see how they're going to spin this. Because there's only so many ways to slice that pie, but they're still going to find a way. So that's interesting. But yeah, for him to go on his press runs, as you mentioned, he's going to continue to do this. Everybody's going to continue to have questions about that event 5-10 years from now. That's my initial thoughts, that he's going to play the sympathy card every time that, hey, feel sorry for me too. So how do you feel about this?
Yeah, Will Smith has a lot going in his favor. Ironically, as embarrassing as that may have been in the moment, long term, it can probably help him more than it hurts him. That's what's funny. And that's America, I guess. I'm done with slavery movies. I can't remember. I think the last slavery movie that I watched, and I don't even think you can consider it a slavery movie per se. Well, maybe you can, because there's slavery in the movie. It's Django. Yeah. I think Django is the last one I watched.
Same here.
I haven't. I'm done. I'm done with slavery movies, and I'm done with black person getting shot or beat by the cops movies. I'm done with all these. Like, I'm done. If y'all want to continue to wallow in that misery, go ahead. But I'm off that. But why wouldn't Will Smith join in on that, right? He needs his second Oscars bid. So go ahead and make your slavery movie, Will Smith.
If you want an Academy Award, play a slave.
Yeah. Well, the thing. Well, so he must have doubled up too, because he must have doubled up. He must have went double or nothing on this, because I don't know that he was anticipating actually winning the Oscar for the King Richard movie. So I think he was doubling up and saying, if I don't get it for King Richard, let me have a backup plan to do the slavery movie so that I can double my odds. Because it kind of, I think he kind of did them back to back or around the same time. So I think he was doubling up, because if I can't get it for playing Venus and Serena's dad, let me get it for being a slave.
You gotta hedge your bets.
It's these slavery movies, man. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I remember back when we initially talked about this, I said my personal belief is that Will Smith in that moment was not slapping Chris Rock. I said that he was slapping August Alsina, he was slapping his wife, he was slapping Rick Ross. He was slapping everybody who he perceived to have disrespected him when they were going through that whole ordeal with the Red Table Talk situation. I think he was slapping. I think that he was exacting his vengeance upon all of those people. And in that moment, Chris Rock became a conduit for that. Chris Rock literally became collateral damage. I don't think in that moment he was going at Chris Rock per se, or if he was, Chris Rock was at the bottom of the heap, and he was less of a priority than those other individuals that he was getting mad that he was mad at and holding it all in. And I said, if anything, this can teach us a lesson about the importance of learning how to be comfortable with confronting things that bother you in the moment without letting it fester. And I think the greatest mistake Will Smith ever made, which I think you and I both agree that we weren't surprised he made this mistake, because when you become Big Willie style and Hollyweird, it behooves you to not be human. And in lieu of not being human, you do things like become uncomfortable with being confrontational, because in those types of environments, whether it's Hollywood or in the corporate scene, you have to control how you go about displaying your humanity in ways that will not adversely affect your career, which is an inhumane thing to do to yourself, but you have no choice but to do that when you're in those weirdo environments. So, because all of those years Will Smith spent all of that time training himself to turn his humanity on and off, he spent so much time bottling it up and becoming uncomfortable with confrontation. And when you become uncomfortable with confrontation, eventually it's going to boil over, and you're going to end up putting yourself on public display in a way that is not going to be very becoming of you and your public stature. And if you had been more confrontational in moments when it would have benefited you to be confrontational, you wouldn't have experienced that moment as it happened. And I kind of feel like his comments validated my sentiments back then when he speaks about bottled rage, because that's exactly what he was doing all those years, bottling up his rage instead of checking Jada Pinkett Smith about airing out personal details of their marriages on a Facebook channel, or allowing this, or basically allowing this open marriage situation to, number one, exist in the first place, but number two, become public knowledge for public consumption, to the point where you've got R&B singers and rappers making collaborative songs that go gold on Spotify, talking about the fact that he's been in a relationship with your wife for this long. I don't care how hyper liberal we become in a society, there's no man to whom that is going to be a comfortable thing to have to deal with. I don't care who you are. I don't give a damn. So, Will Smith bottled all of that up. And in the moment that Chris Rock made a joke about it, he became collateral damage, and that rage spilled over publicly. So, to all of the people out there, man, and obviously I have more to say on this, but to the people out there, like, learn how to be more comfortable with confrontation. This is why I always appreciated people like and I don't do celebrity hero worship, but there are certain tidbits of things that I take from certain people that I do find to be valuable in terms of how to orient your life. And this is why I always appreciated people like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and even Peyton Manning, because Peyton Manning was this way. Tom Brady does it too. In the moment when there's something that's wrong or pissing you off, you need to confront that head on. Like, no, we're not going to let this slide. We're going to get to this right now and resolve this, because otherwise it's going to lead to a much bigger catastrophe down the road. And you're not going to have a catastrophe be levied at my feet, not on my account, especially when I'm not the one who's in the wrong anyway. So, people need to learn how to be more comfortable with confrontation. And if you need something to look at as evidence of that, look no further than Mr. Will Smith, who is now having to remorsefully explain his actions, which were a result of his inability to confront things as they occur, while he markets his slavery movie.
Yeah, and I'll add this, and you hit on a lot of points, especially the part where he couldn't really be himself in Hollywood, and I'll also add on the point where he's basically like a child star, and he's never really had to be himself in front of the public, like, ever. So there was always this dynamic, and we talked about this too when Dave Chappelle had weighed in on this, was basically, talking about his mask coming off.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's an aspect of Will that nobody really seen before, but we always get the Hollywood version of him, the one that's always either in movies or doing interviews where he's also happy and jovial and all these other things. But, everybody has their own balance. So, how are you behind closed doors? And him talking about how him growing up watching his father put his hands on his mother type of thing, that type of anger and aggression. I'm sure his family's seen that before, not to the violent aspect, but his either snarky, passive aggressive, or, whatever type of attitude he may have at home. I think the world saw that he could get out of pocket. And like you said, what the rappers rapping about your wife, everybody on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, just reposting you crying at a table, your wife talking about she having an affair, and all of these various dynamics. There was this level of him trying to reclaim a manhood, if you will. And by being violent on stage, I felt like that was him trying to do some level of rectifying, like you said. So he was slapping all those people.
Mm-hmm.
So not only was he slapping all those people, I also felt like there was a degree of it like, hey, I'm no pushover.
Mm-hmm.
Watch me, y'all. I'm no pushover. And it's like Chris Rock at the Oscars. This is the moment you choose to be a man and put some big boy pants on. But even then, that wasn't a manly act. So you still showed a cowardly way of handling your business. So even in being aggressive, even if being aggressive at times, that doesn't show that you are a man. That doesn't show that you're actually on top of your game. Sometimes displaying aggression such as this shows how weak you are. So in this instance here, he didn't come out looking good at all. His personal life legacy, for as far as I'm concerned, is just completely in shambles. It's a mess. And anybody that observes Will Smith's personal life, because this is a part of his personal life, even though it's a professional event, his personal life is an absolute chaos. And his professional career, one can argue, as far as black entertainers go, especially in the 90s and 2000s, he's one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as having his ducks in a row at home, he clearly never displayed that. So again, he has to go on this campaign of crying to show people that, hey, y'all, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll cry. Bro, that's not showing your toughness either. And not that crying makes you weak, because, hey, if you got to cry, let it out. I damn sure do. But the fact that you have to do it on every interview or every time you're talking about this situation shows another level of disingenuousness that he's always showed his entire career in his personal life. So Will, to me personally, I think the guy as an individual, I know he means well, but it never seemed like he ever got his own footing in life. And like I said, from being a child star, you are just, your life is always on display. You're always playing roles that is never yourself. You're always on the go. You got a movie you're filming here. You're probably filming 2 at a time. When do you ever get a chance to sit down, relax, relate, release?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've been doing this for 3 decades. No wonder, you know what I'm saying, the yarn from the sweater is unraveling. So I wish him the best as always. But him crying on stage, him crying on stage right there, what more can I say? I wish him the best.
That stuff is, and there's gonna be more of it. The ironic thing about it is, how our current climate,
Mhm.
how that operates.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be rewarded for it. So it's not necessary. We can sit here and talk like that on this video all day.
Mm-hmm.
But on the grander scale, that's going to work for him, which is what makes this situation so ironic to me. Because, we talk about this kind of stuff often in this, in the current climate that we live in. There are certain things that endear you to the mainstream public, and no one would dare challenge the notion of what you're trying to endear yourself towards. And what are those things? Racial equality, right? Body positivity, mental health. These are all things that if you play yourself towards those narratives, you endear yourself to the general public, and you're rewarded for you're rewarded for emoting yourself towards those notions. You're seen as a champion for those various causes. In this particular case, what will work in Will Smith's advantage, in my opinion, tremendously, is the idea that this is, this will be a referendum on the value of attention that needs to be paid towards mental health. And I think that Will Smith will be a champion for that, because publicly, as he continues to show remorse and contrition, and when he sheds tears and all of this kind of stuff, and I think you said at the top of your remarks on this video, playing the victim. I don't know that maybe he is strategically doing it in order to victimize himself, but I think on the back end it'll play out that way, that ultimately what will be said about this whole ordeal is that Will Smith was the victim of adverse circumstances that affected or compromised his mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And so all will be forgiven, and he'll serve his penance when it comes to the academy and all of that kind of stuff, but really, who cares about that? No one is going to think any less of Will Smith as an actor, or his career for that matter, because he doesn't go to that dumb award show for 10 years. No one's going to care. So really, that to me was not really a price to be paid, in my opinion. But again, I'm not in Hollywood, and I'm not an entertainment journalist, so I don't know all of the perks and privileges that come along with that kind of thing. But I think to the general public, who also does not know about that stuff, no one is caring about the fact that he is not involved with that institution for 10 years. No one's going to think any less of his talent or career because of that. So really, at that point, the only price that gets paid is the hit that he sustains in terms of his image.
Mm-hmm.
And that will easily be rebuilt, because he will become a champion for mental health. And no one would dare challenge that, because in Western culture today, you cannot challenge racism or racial issues. You cannot challenge body positivity issues. You cannot challenge mental health. And there's a few others that we won't mention, but there are certain things that remain. There are certain things that are unchallenged in today's climate. And so because they're unchallenged, it's a faux pas to suggest that Will Smith is not contrite. Why wouldn't he be? Of course he is. So this is actually going to end up working to his advantage, especially when you consider the fact that he's doing it before the premiere of a movie which undoubtedly will register a lot of emotion and feelings from people with respect to those same narrative points, racial equality and all of that good stuff, by way of this slavery movie that he's putting out. So it's funny, what ended up being a situation that kind of made him look kind of bad in the beginning is probably going to end up being something that is advantageous towards him now. Personally, I'm not here for all of that, because you can't, like, you might talk about mental health all you want when it comes to this stuff, but at the end of the day, the guy just needs to learn how to be comfortable confronting things that would otherwise add to his rage that's going to boil over as time passes along. And that ain't nothing that you need to see a therapist for, per se. Maybe it is for certain people, but dude, just don't succumb to this weirdo lifestyle where it's in your best interest to not be a human and confront things as they happen in the moment. So that's pretty much how that goes for me. Not here for the slavery stuff, not here for the narrative stuff. All of that stuff I'm not here for, but I see it coming a mile away, and so it is what it is.
Hey, get well soon, Will. Get well soon, bro. Seriously. Hey, by the way, guys, race to 1K. You guys see it over there in the corner. We're trying to get to 100K. Not 100K. Well, 100K subscribers one day, but
Yeah.
we got to get to a K first.
Yeah, race to a K.
Race to 1K, man. So help us out, man. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like and that bell notification. All right. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. And with that, we'll go ahead and end on that note. I will say this. I hope the movie does well. I'm not gonna watch it. I don't want to be a part of it, but I still like to see people prosper and be successful. So I hope the movie does well, even though I don't agree with the whole slavery thing, the slavery movie stuff.
I hope he got his check. I hope his check cleared.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is he'll get even more. The better the movie performs,
The more
it'll
get
be
later.
even more coin that comes with that. But yeah, he got his check. Yeah.